In the heart of San Francisco Bay, shrouded in mist and battered by icy currents, sits Alcatraz Island. This small, rugged piece of land, often obscured by the thick fog that rolls in from the Pacific Ocean, has a storied past that is as tumultuous as the waters that surround it. A solitary, forbidding rock, it has long captured the imagination with its aura of mystery and menace. The jagged cliffs and the relentless waves crashing against them create an atmosphere of isolation and foreboding, making it a place that both fascinates and terrifies. Before it became synonymous with confinement and despair, Alcatraz served as a beacon for early explorers, a military fortress, and a symbol of American might. The island's strategic importance was recognized early on, and it played a crucial role in the defense of the burgeoning nation. Spanish navigators charting the California coastline in the 18th century dubbed the island Isla de los Alcatrazes, Island of the Pelicans, for the abundance of seabirds nesting on its cliffs. These early explorers were struck by the island's rugged beauty and the teeming wildlife that called it home. Its strategic location at the mouth of the bay, however, hinted at a future far different from this tranquil scene. The island's position made it a natural sentinel, guarding the entrance to one of the most important harbors on the West Coast. Following the Mexican-American War and the California Gold Rush, the United States recognized Alcatraz's potential as a strategic military outpost. The influx of people and wealth into California made the protection of San Francisco Bay a top priority. In 1850, President Millard Fillmore signed an order fortifying the island, transforming it into a formidable bastion armed with cannons. The construction of military fortifications began in earnest, and Alcatraz soon bristled with artillery, ready to defend against any threat. Throughout the latter half of the 19th century, Alcatraz served as a military prison, housing Confederate sympathizers during the Civil War, and, later, American soldiers accused of desertion or other crimes. The island's isolation made it an ideal location for a prison, as the treacherous waters surrounding it acted as a natural barrier to escape. The island's isolation and unforgiving currents made escape nearly impossible, foreshadowing its future as America's most notorious penitentiary. The cold, churning waters of San Francisco Bay were a constant reminder of the island's inescapable nature, and many who tried to flee found themselves at the mercy of the elements. Today, Alcatraz stands as a testament to its multifaceted history. Visitors from around the world come to walk its grounds, exploring the remnants of its military and prison past. The island's story is one of transformation, from a natural haven for wildlife to a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. As the sun sets over San Francisco Bay, casting a golden glow on the waters, Alcatraz remains a silent sentinel, a reminder of the many lives that have passed through its gates. Its legacy is etched into the very fabric of American history, a place where the past and present converge in a powerful narrative of endurance and change. As the 20th century dawned, the military presence on Alcatraz began to wane. The island's fortifications, once considered state-of-the-art, became outdated in the face of modern warfare. However, a new purpose, one far more sinister, awaited the rock. The rise of organized crime during the Prohibition era, with notorious gangsters like Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly terrorizing cities across America, demanded a new approach to incarceration. Existing federal prisons proved woefully inadequate, plagued by corruption and vulnerable to escapes. In response to this crisis, the U.S. Department of Justice sought to establish a maximum security prison, a place where the nation's most hardened criminals could be effectively isolated and controlled. Alcatraz, with its natural defenses and reputation for impenetrability, emerged as the ideal location. In 1934, Alcatraz Island officially shed its military skin and was reborn as a federal penitentiary. The existing structures underwent extensive renovations, incorporating the latest security measures, cell blocks reinforced with steel bars, guard towers strategically positioned, and a system of tunnels patrolled by armed guards. Contrary to popular depiction, Alcatraz never housed more than 300 inmates at any given time. The prison's true power lay not in its capacity, but in its design and reputation. Every aspect of Alcatraz, from its physical layout to its daily routines, was meticulously engineered to crush the spirit and eliminate any possibility of escape. Prisoners were housed in 4 main cell blocks, designated A through D. Each cell, measuring a mere 5 feet by 9 feet, contained only a bed, a toilet, a sink, and a small desk. The cells lacked any semblance of privacy, with bars instead of doors, offering an unobstructed view into the lives of their occupants. The prison's most secure section, D Block, housed those deemed particularly dangerous or troublesome. Known as Treatment Row, it was here that inmates endured solitary confinement, often in darkness and silence, their only companions the rats and the echoing drip of water. Shadows of infamy. Notorious inmates of Alcatraz. Alcatraz, often referred to as the Rock, is a name that conjures images of isolation, despair, and the darkest chapters of American criminal history. This infamous island prison, located in the chilly waters of San Francisco Bay, has become a symbol of the ultimate punishment, a place where the most dangerous and notorious criminals were sent to be forgotten. Over its 29 years as a federal penitentiary, Alcatraz housed some of the most notorious criminals in American history. The prison's reputation for being inescapable and its harsh living conditions made it the final stop for those who had defied the law in the most egregious ways. The stories of these inmates have become legends, tales of crime and punishment that continue to fascinate and horrify us to this day. These men, convicted of crimes ranging from bank robbery and kidnapping to murder and racketeering, gained legendary status both within the prison walls and in the public imagination. Their names are etched into the annals of criminal history, and their deeds have been recounted in countless books, movies, and documentaries. The notoriety of these inmates was not just a result of their crimes, but also the media frenzy that surrounded their trials and incarcerations. Al Capone, the infamous Chicago mob boss known as Scarface, arrived on Alcatraz in 1934. Capone's criminal empire, built on bootlegging, gambling, and violence, made him one of the most feared and powerful men in America. His arrival at Alcatraz was a significant event, marking the downfall of a man who had once seemed untouchable. The prison's strict regime and isolation were a stark contrast to the life of luxury and power he had known. His reign of terror in the Windy City, built on bootlegging, gambling, and violence, came to an end on the Rock, where he served 4.5 years. During his time at Alcatraz, Capone's health deteriorated due to syphilis, and he became a shadow of his former self. The once dominant mob boss was reduced to a frail and broken man, a testament to the harsh conditions of the prison. His spirit was broken by syphilis and the harsh realities of prison life. The isolation and strict discipline of Alcatraz took a heavy toll on Capone both physically and mentally. His decline was a stark reminder of the prison's ability to break even the most hardened criminals. Another notorious inmate was George Machine Gun Kelly, a notorious bank robber and kidnapper. Kelly's criminal career was marked by a series of high-profile heists and kidnappings that made him one of the most wanted men in America. His capture and subsequent imprisonment at Alcatraz were seen as a major victory for law enforcement. Despite his fearsome nickname, Kelly proved to be a surprisingly compliant prisoner on Alcatraz, earning a reputation as a model inmate, a far cry from his ruthless public persona. His behavior in prison was a stark contrast to the violent and unpredictable criminal he had been on the outside. This transformation was a testament to the strict discipline and control exercised by the prison authorities. Robert Stroud, known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, became one of the prison's most infamous residents. Stroud's story is one of the most unusual and intriguing in the history of Alcatraz. A convicted murderer, Stroud developed a fascination with birds while incarcerated at Leavenworth Penitentiary. His interest in ornithology led him to become an expert in the field, and he even wrote several books on the subject. A convicted murderer, Stroud developed a fascination with birds while incarcerated at Leavenworth Penitentiary. His transformation from a violent criminal to a respected ornithologist is one of the most remarkable stories to come out of the American prison system. Stroud's work with birds earned him a measure of respect and recognition, even as he remained a prisoner. Though denied the company of his feathered companions on Alcatraz, his story, sensationalized in the 1962 film Birdman of Alcatraz starring Burt Lancaster, cemented the island's image as a place of both cruelty and strange allure. The film brought Stroud's story to a wider audience and added to the mystique of Alcatraz as a place where even the most hardened criminals could find redemption or, at the very least, a measure of humanity. Life on Alcatraz was one of relentless routine and psychological torment. The prison, often referred to as the Rock, was designed to break the spirit of its inmates. The isolation, the strict rules, and the constant surveillance created an environment where hope was a rare commodity. Every moment of the inmates' days was governed by a strict timetable designed to eliminate any opportunity for independent thought or action. The schedule was meticulously planned to ensure that prisoners had no time to themselves, no chance to plan an escape, and no opportunity to form meaningful connections with others. The day began with a 6:30 a.m. wake-up call, followed by a quick breakfast in the mess hall. The food was basic, often tasteless, and served in a sterile environment that reminded inmates of their lack of freedom. Prisoners then spent several hours in their cells before being marched to the prison's workshops, where they performed menial tasks, often making garments or furniture. These tasks were monotonous and repetitive, designed to keep the inmates occupied but not engaged. Silence was strictly enforced outside of designated times, with guards quick to punish any infraction. The constant threat of punishment created an atmosphere of fear and tension, making it difficult for inmates to relax or feel any sense of normalcy. Mealtimes, though offering a brief respite from the monotony, were often tense affairs, with inmates constantly under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Conversations were limited, and any sign of disobedience was met with swift retribution. The psychological toll of Alcatraz was perhaps its most effective weapon. The isolation, the constant surveillance, and the lack of any meaningful human interaction wore down the inmates over time, leading to severe mental health issues. The constant proximity to the mainland, with the tantalizing sights and sounds of freedom just out of reach, proved a cruel form of torture. Inmates could see the bustling city of San Francisco, hear the distant sounds of life, and yet they were trapped, unable to reach it. The island's harsh weather, often shrouded in fog and lashed by icy winds, further added to the sense of despair. The cold, damp conditions made life on Alcatraz even more unbearable, as inmates struggled to stay warm and dry in their cells. Recreation time was limited and heavily supervised. Inmates were allowed brief periods in the yard, where they could engage in activities like baseball, but these moments were fleeting and did little to alleviate the overall sense of confinement. The prison library offered a small escape, with books providing a mental break from the harsh realities of prison life. However, access to the library was restricted, and the selection of books was carefully curated to prevent any subversive ideas from taking root. Nights on Alcatraz were particularly difficult. The dim lighting, the sounds of the ocean, and the knowledge that freedom was so close yet so far away made it hard for inmates to sleep. Many spent their nights in restless contemplation, haunted by their past actions and the bleakness of their future. The ever-present guard towers, with their spotlights scanning the prison grounds, served as a constant reminder of the inmates' captivity. There was no escape, no way out, and the guards made sure that everyone knew it. As the sun rose over Alcatraz each morning, it brought with it another day of the same relentless routine. For the inmates, each day was a battle to maintain their sanity and their sense of self, in a place designed to strip them of both.